Okay, this is going to be a very quick lecture. Number two, modern medicine. It's just pretty obvious. So we have the essentially what I'm kind of grouping here is the advent of treatments to deal with uh, previously deadly or serious diseases. All right, and so we have kind of the precursor to antibiotics, which are sulfa. Then we get antibiotics, which really stem the tide of infectious bacterial diseases, and then we get vaccines, which essentially take care of viruses. So we go from having lots of deadly diseases that people are just have to live with to having virtually none by the end of the 20th century. Here's a ad for penicillin, and the scale of this is incredible. So death rate declines by 74% in the 20th century. Life expectancy increases by 30 years over the 20th century. This is largely due to the advent of these type of treatments. Okay. I mean, it's like people think of healthcare, but it's like there's pretty much no healthcare. I mean, like back in 1900, it's not. There's like very little that medicine could do for you. All right, and so a lot of this takes place prior to 1950, and it's because of these antibacterials, the precursors of which were these things called sulfas. All right. So we get penicillin, but we don't really. It's not utilized until over 10 years later. We get these sulfa drugs, which, as I mentioned, are kind of like early antibiotics. So of the drug, sorry, this is penicillin. And then we get the polio vaccine. We get kind of like synthesis of penicillin, lots of other antibiotics, and then lots of other vaccines throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And here is American hero that you probably never heard of. Maybe you've heard of him after this recent pandemic. But millions upon millions of lives were saved by him. He developed, I think, over 40 vaccines. And I think the estimate is like over 100 million lives were saved by the vaccines that this doctor developed. And so in terms of like saving life or lives saved, probably nobody has a bigger impact than Maurice Hillman. So I assigned a reading about him. You'll be able to read all about him and the incredible impact his vaccines had. All right, that's number two. Number one coming up.